Good evening and welcome. This is our 214th meeting, and it is live on YouTube. Happen to have one of our original members that attended our first meeting here tonight, Jeff Bilyeu. Aren't many of us left. We'll talk more about that next month, which will be our 20th anniversary. So set that date aside, July the 11th. That'll be our big birthday party here, and we'll talk a lot about the beginning. Are there any new members here tonight? Okay, are there any guests here tonight? Very good. Jim, Barbara, over there. Welcome. Glad to see you here. We will take a 15-minute break, and there is pizza, which is a good treat, I think, after the interview with Christine Cook. And there will be 6 door prize drawing at the end. So without further ado, I will turn this over to Marcel.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you. We were wondering how many people would show up tonight, so it's good to see you. Can you hear me okay? You can? Okay. All right. I got to tell you a quick story. I was at a local bar that I like to frequent occasionally last week, and the bartender's become a friend. So the bartender says to me, he says, you know, there's a guy, you know that guy Frank? And I said, yeah, I think I know who he is. Yeah, I know him. Yes, I know him. And he said, the bald-headed guy, you know, yeah. Comes always in his shorts and a boating type shirt. Yes. He said, you know, that guy's, he's a barfly. I said, I know it. He sat next to me last week for 11 hours. When I was a kid, just before I left to go in the Navy, I used to go to Calumet City to a topless bar. And when I got out of the Navy and came back home, I went to my favorite topless bar. They ruined it. They put a roof on it. Okay, where's the sheet? Sonny, you got to give me something to go by. All right. Larry Richardson, I don't think he's here tonight. Unfortunately, Larry had to take his wife to the hospital. So we have a fill-in for Larry tonight, so take it away.
Hi, I'm Larry. I'm hoping to hear from Larry before the night's out so he can know that his wife is doing okay. How many of you went on this outing? Oh, a couple, 3, 4, 5, 6, good, okay. We're gonna, hey, come on. No, not gonna do it, huh? Isn't technology wonderful?
When it works.
Yeah, when it works. Let's try to do battery in there, Sonny. Meanwhile, nope, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. Vamp till ready, right? Okay. Did I miss one? No, okay.
Those are double A's. You don't have any double A's on here.
So, I was there and I found the garden to be pretty good. I've seen it better at different times that I've been there, but it was pretty nice. And Don Columbus got this lovely shot of the water lilies. Chad, are you here tonight? No. Anybody know what that's called?
It's an orchid.
A flower. Very good.
It's an orchid.
It's not a giraffe, is it, Diana? More water lilies from Chet. The water lilies were gorgeous.
That's cool.
The light's working, the pointer, but
It won't advance the slides.
you've got the dongle in there?
I got the dongle in there.
These are double A's. You have triple A's in the back. I could try some new batteries, but.
Okay, we'll work this and I'll see if I can get it done before the interview.
You want me to sit there and push the button?
Yeah, if you would, that'd be great. Arrow button. Right, bottom, right, no, down. Right here. There we go. Sonny, that's called a computer.
Really? Will you back up one?
No, that's good. These flowers are gorgeous. I had a great time over there looking at the flowers. My mom grew flowers all over our yard. It was amazing. Go ahead, Sonny. Jeff Jason, is Jeff here tonight? No, he's out swimming somewhere else. The bees. Some of the insects were wonderful. Go ahead, Sonny. Yeah, the dragon. How many of you got dragonflies? Those of you that were there, I got one. Yeah, I got some really good ones. Yep. Go ahead, Sonny. Another one from Jeff. Or water lilies. The water lilies in the pond. I like that they have the water black so that when you're taking pictures, it's just a background for you. Go ahead, Sonny. Yeah. I understand they put some dye in the water too. That's what I heard. Richard Murray, another couple lovely water lilies. Go ahead, Sonny. And another one. They do such a great job with these water lilies over there. Nice. Go ahead, Sonny. Gorgeous. Larry Richardson.
It's you, right?
Bottle brush plant, I believe. Pretty nice. Another dragonfly. It's the same one? No, that was the first one's sister. Go ahead. Yeah, there he is. He is here tonight. Okay.
Phelan,
Yeah.
I think if they put dye in the water, would the flowers absorb the dye and turn different colors? That's what I'm thinking. It's painted black, go with that. Yeah, let's go with that.
It's a legitimate rumor. Martin, are you here tonight? Yeah. Yep. How did your macro lens work okay in the long run?
Sorry, what?
Did your macro lens work okay?
I didn't use them.
Didn't use it, okay. Mine died.
It doesn't work, it never worked okay, I had to take it off.
What is that, Martin, do you know?
A torch orchid, a torch ginger.
Ginger, okay.
Torch ginger.
Nice. Or water lilies, they were gorgeous. Yep. There's Martin.
That's Larry. That's self-portrait now.
That's Larry, okay? He's all over the place tonight. Christina, I know she's here tonight. Beautiful. Now that's the water lilies without the flowers, and that's a lovely composition, I think. Looking at, oh, where'd you find this guy?
Where we all met.
Ah, is that Larry? Was that Larry? The orchids, yeah, the orchids are gorgeous. Me, there's my dragonfly and the water lily. I like that one a lot. I got the waterfall. This is like a 10-second exposure on the waterfall. And water lilies. Now this one, I was over there, I wanted to experiment with focus stacking using flash. And that's how I took this picture, because this baby was pretty much in the shade. And I was able to use the flash. Also, it was in a kind of area where the wind wasn't getting to it, so, because you can't focus stack when the wind's blowing.
What kind of camera do you have?
Sony?
Is it in-camera?
In-camera focus stacking, yes. And and it runs the flash too, of course.
Choose the number of images and all that stuff?
Yeah, you give it some settings. Yep. Yep. More water lilies. Bill Spooner. Water lilies in the sunshine. Must have been there a little later. There's our dragonfly again. He's hiding out this time. Gorgeous. Another one. Spiders. Is this one of those that's invading North America now? Anybody know? I don't think so. It's a native. Okay, so how many of you have been on the outing committee? Chip has. Anybody else? What are you waiting for?
Chip's been on.
Yeah, he put his hand up. Yeah. I've been on the outing committee. I've been the outing director at one point. It's fun. Next slide. There's a whole list of places where we can go. And it's just a matter of figuring out, how do we get there? What do we do? Do we need particular special access? Do we need to talk to somebody? And so forth. This outing that we're going on next week at the Naples Players, I've been working on that for 6 months with them. And mostly the problem has been that they're just finishing up their construction on their $22 million renovation. So they didn't have time to let us in or talk to me even. So we're getting into the new theater before the first show even opens. I think that's great. Okay, questions?
No, but if we don't go on the activity, but if we've been there, we have pictures. Can we send them to you?
Are the pictures legal?
I mean, legal? No, I have pictures I took at like the alligator,
At where?
alligator farm.
Oh,
And I have,
you wanna run an outing without going on an outing? Is that what you're saying?
yeah. Well, you might as well, if you've been there, you might as well send you the picture.
That's fine, if we have an outing in that location, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I could have sent you, I've been to the gardens a few times this couple months.
yeah, yeah. You could have sent them in for this, sure, yeah. In fact, the outings that I ran were during COVID, so they were pretty much virtual outings. You had to go on your own and send me your pictures. Okay, Marcel.
That one works.
Okay, good. Thanks, Don.
This is the one we need to put.
You may have noticed that we've been encouraging members to come by providing some food, some treats and so forth, and different things that we've been doing. And if you noticed a pinprick when you sat down in your chairs tonight, we're testing your cholesterol. You'll get your reports after the meeting tonight. Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Interviews with Christine Cook, I guess is next. Not yet? You're up again?
I'm up again.
Oh, okay, I saw your name and I thought you, okay, all right.
This is the Dale and Stacy show tonight. This in show mode. Oh, there we go. Okay, most of you should have heard about this outing already. It's next Saturday at the Naples Players downtown on Fifth Avenue. It's a brand new theater. They've had 3 shows there. They're kind of introductory shows, and they were only for the patrons and the volunteers. So they're opening up to the public. Let's see, today's Thursday. A week from Tuesday, or a week from Wednesday will be their first show. It's a lovely theater. It's really beautiful. There's lots of architectural designs. The opportunity to shoot in here is the ambience of the place, the features, the architectural features, how it's put together, the architecture of the building itself. We can have access to most of the building. There's 3 floors. It's not entirely done yet, so there's some places we can't go just because we can't get in there yet. There's still cranes and business and stuff going on in there. In the theater itself, the seating, the stage, the proscenium, they will be having a dress rehearsal that starts at 5 p.m. on Saturday, and we can stay through the dress rehearsal and shoot from the chairs in the hall or in the balcony or up in front of the stage and backstage, but in limited numbers, and you have to be taken back by an assistant director. So it's going to be a fun outing, I think, if you haven't done any of that. You got the people you can shoot. There won't be people like these were volunteers that were in training in this picture. But you can use each other to set up for sitting or whatever if you want to take pictures of people in location. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The dress rehearsal starts at 5 o'clock. We can get in at 4 o'clock. And you can shoot from the theater, the balcony, backstage, dressing rooms. I talked to the stage manager, and he said shooting folks getting their hair done. The show is 42nd Street. How many of you have seen 42nd Street somewhere? It's a great show, and it's a musical. So there'll be a full orchestra in-house. We can get down into the pit, at least the end of the pit, and take pictures of the musicians and so forth. There's a library with 4,000 volumes of theater materials, and in the lobby, the atmosphere, and more. Mark is going to bring in studio lights, and we're going to set up to take pictures of the actors, the staff, and each other, if you want to do that, while we're down there. So we will have a full lighting set up to do portrait work. So you can plan on doing some of that as well. We are going to donate photos to TNP photographers. If they use any of your photos, you will be credited with them wherever they use them. And so don't put your signature on any of these photos. That will make them unusable for their purposes. And we will also get a notice in their program. They hand out hundreds of programs at every show. And this is a way for us to let people know about DPI-SIG and maybe get some new members. What to bring? Portrait lens, wide angle lens, normal lens, telephoto lens. You can shoot the stage with a telephoto from the balcony. I think that would be interesting. You can use tripods for shots in the theater during a rehearsal, and you can use flash except during a rehearsal in the theater. We don't want to disrupt anything they're doing. And this is a full run through. They're not going to stop at all for this thing. So be prepared. The show is about 2¼ hours long. There will be a 15-minute intermission break in it. Now, there is a very important requirement, and that is because there are underage actors in this cast, and TNP is an educational organization, to protect their cast members, underage cast members, we all need to fill out forms and get background checks done. And I have forms here tonight. If you need one, I send them to you online, and they're on a web page. So if you want to come, and I invite you to do that, get a form filled out and get it down to the players by the 18th so they can get their check done. Or you can fill one out here tonight and give it to me in a sealed envelope. It requires your social security number. I know some people are reluctant to do that. Okay, and there's the address if you need it. It'll be on the YouTube. August competition. August 1st to August 31st. Categories: color, monochrome, creative, and macro. You guys had lots of practice with last month's slideshow for the macro, right? Yeah, we get to find some more macro pictures. And the current rule for DPI-SIG competitions is no generative AI when you're processing images. No generative AI. That's all I'm going to say. If you haven't found it online on the DPI-SIG website, I put up the competition blog, I'm calling it. There are snippets there from each of our best of category winners from our last competition. They described themselves a little bit, where they took the pictures, how they took the pictures, how they processed the pictures. If you're interested in what's going on behind the scenes in some of our competitions, this is a good place to find out. So check it out. If you go to the webpage under competitions, you'll see the competition blog right in the middle. 20th anniversary next month. Right, Sonny? 20 years. Do you remember what you were doing 20 years ago?
Yeah. Sitting in a restaurant having a first meeting.
Sitting in a restaurant having the first meeting. It wasn't really a restaurant, though. There was no food.
It was a closed restaurant.
A closed restaurant. Is that like a topless bar with no roof?
Had no air conditioning.
No air conditioning. Ooh, in July in Florida. So come join us next month as we celebrate 20 years of exposing photography. We will have cake and refreshments, and we'll present some DPI-SIG history. I'm working on a history presentation of the 20 years of the club. And This is what it looked like in the beginning. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with that part, Marcel. But I'm gonna hold the clicker because I'm going on to the next part.
You may not be aware, but those three fellas and that gal, they're still members. Okay, Christine, you're up.
Yeah, don't touch it. Are you ready, Sonny? Sonny, would you let us know when 2 hours is up? Christine, welcome. You've been a very important part of DPI-SIG, at least for 12, 13, 14 years, something like that. And you've been one of my mentors in this club. And so I appreciate the work you've done that's fallen on me and helped me become a better photographer. It really makes a difference to me. A lot of people in this club do that, but you probably have done it the most. Just because of the work you've done with Women's Workshop and with the critique sessions. So it's really good. Now, we want to know about you tonight. And there's a lot of people that came here out in the rain in the nasty weather to see what you had to say, because they want to be mentored too. So you do lots of different kinds of photography. How come you get drawn off away from any one thing? What is it that keeps you looking at different things all the time?
I'm afraid to talk.
You can talk.
If this is okay?
Yeah.
How's this?
They can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, that's my signature, isn't it? It really defines me as a photographer. I am not settled on one type of photography. I love them all. And I think that the thing that all the genres have in common, or what I look for across all genres, is emotion, feeling, the feeling of a scene, or the feeling that people give, or the feeling that animals give. Can the lights go down on this? Why is that buzzing?
Turn the gain down a little bit, Sonny.
And so even with a landscape, I call this reaching upward, because I guess I see it anthropomorphically. You know, I see a reaching, a yearning. And so that's really why I like all the genres. I mean, you can do so much. The best photograph to me is one I haven't shot yet.
I love it.
So
Tell us about this one.
yeah, this one has a lot of feeling in it too. This is actually my actual childhood violin. It's a 3/4 violin. It's not quite an adult size, and I just made a still life out of it because I wanted to honor it, and I also think that's what titles do, is they honor your image, whether or not a judge takes it into account. It's not really important, although many judges do. I think giving it a meaningful title is important. But this is a creative. You can tell by the swirls and the colors that have kind of been pulled out of that orange violin.
Why don't you try? This one's making a lot of noise.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait, hold on a second.
It may have a volume control.
Keep my pants on here.
Does it? No.
Okay.
Try that.
All right, hello?
Yeah,
Better?
we got you.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so looking at this, have you noticed that the background has a music motif in it? The fabric?
Was this an experiment when you took it?
Sure, absolutely.
It was. You said, I got a violin, let's see what I can do with it?
That's
sort of
right.
thing?
I wanted to honor my violin,
Yeah.
and it just kind of came together. And I'm beginning to believe more and more that spontaneous things that happen are the most rewarding. Even though I used to preach being intentional about your photography, I feel a little bit differently about that now.
Now, this is definitely a distance away from your violin and your childhood.
Yes, yes, this is when Diana Kalea and I braved 47 degrees below zero temperatures.
That's what she said.
You don't want to lose those 7
You're getting
degrees.
critique from the audience on your presentation.
Yeah, it was bad. It was freezing damn cold. And the first thing I did upon getting out of the truck was I fell in the snow.
So
And
what did it take to get the picture?
Well, it took getting my ass out of the snow, having the guide warm my hands up with his breath and chest, which was lovely, by the way. Anyway, and after that, I was able to get out there and, yeah, it was blowing, we were freezing, but there were polar bears, and they were in a hole in the ground that looked very much like the traditional den you think of with polar bears. But this actually is not a traditional den of a polar bear. Dens of polar bears, when they're hibernating, are kind of like big honeycombs. They're great big mounds of snow with a hole in the top, and you'd never know they were there. But coming upon this and having it look like your idea of a bear's den was very exciting for me. Yeah, and of course the guide said, now whatever you do, don't rush the bears. You'll scare them away. Don't rush the bears. And 15 people poured out of our vans running at the bears with their tripods in hand, and he just lost it. And they started to move away from us, of course. And then we stopped, and they came back, but we frightened them. We did, we frightened them.
So color has been one of the things that you worked a lot on.
Yes.
I know you did a whole seminar on color.
Yes, yes.
Just because you had to talk about color.
Yeah, I love color. And color can be chaotic. It can be a mess. It can be, just random. But there actually are wonderful color schemes built into nature. And this is just an example of one. This is a red-green color scheme. It's a complementary color scheme, which is has a lot of impact upon visually seeing it. And so in processing, I made sure that in shooting it, I made sure I got some of the reds in the background. So, yeah. And this is also a red-green color scheme. Yeah, but this one is much more subtle because the background wasn't quite as important as the lions. I wanted the lions to be the more important part of this. And this was my first sighting of lions in Botswana. So,
How long ago?
oh, a few.
In the last century?
Yes. Yes, yes. Couldn't have been too long ago because I haven't been doing photography that long. So maybe, I don't know. Do you know Honey? My Honey is here.
7 or 8 years, I'd say.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years. That was a fantastic trip. And the Jeep was going very, very fast. And my first sighting of lions, we had to, make that Jeep stop so we can get a picture of it. Okay, so this is another color scheme. And this one is a kind of a blue, orange, bordering on a violet yellow, but it's still another complementary color scheme. And so, and to me, that the complementary is a contrast. You're talking about contrasting colors across the color wheel, warm and cool colors together. So it does promote feeling, it does promote emotion. And that's one reason why I like that a lot. Yeah. And this one is,
Where was this?
this is in Namibia.
Okay, that's what my
Another
guess was.
Diana trip. This is amazing. It's very far. It's very hard to get there. You're driving forever, and then you're walking forever over sand dunes with your equipment. But it's a fascinating place. It's an abandoned diamond mine, and the whole village that grew up around it in the late 1800s. And what's happening is the dunes in Namibia, which are the largest dunes in the world, are slowly being blown into these homes and hospitals and all these buildings that were there for the diamond mine and the people who ran them. So that's what you see is
The color?
Isn't the color awesome? This one is analogous. It's all the colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. So it's mostly warm colors, reds and orange and yellows, and then you see in the very far reach, you see a green wall, which is a little cooler than these other colors, but but they're touching. So
Lots of colors here.
there are a lot of colors, but this image did really, really well in my life. I got a lot of money from a big international competition for this image, and then sold it a few times. This was an image that I was with Betty, and she took this image as well. It was just a big nautilus shell. I think it was at a Mike Matthews, yeah. And I was running out the door, and somebody said, "Oh, take the nautilus." So I ran back in, and Betty was taking it, and I took it.
Is that why you call it retreat? Because you're running out the door?
No, but that's a good. No, this one has a lot of colors, but the colors are organized. I don't know if you can see that. It's more of a complicated color scheme because they're interwoven and kind of leading into each other. But if you follow, the outer rim is the red warm color, and then as you go into this is how I see this nautilus. As you go into the nautilus, it becomes more of a yellow, and there's even a hint of green. And then as you go further, you see more green taking over. And then as you go further, you see more blue taking over. And then as you go into the very center, you see a little bit of yellow in the center. So it actually is a beautifully organized, and it was accidental. This is one of those, I was playing with color, and I think it was in topaz, but I can't remember. It could have been anything.
They say luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
That's
so
right.
Apparently you had a lot of luck.
That's right. Well, I believe that's that spontaneous feeling again, just coming upon something,
Yeah.
playing and dabbling and coming upon.
But you had a camera.
I did. I did.
So if you take away the color, you're left with no color. But you've done a lot of work in black and white as well.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Anything else go wrong tonight? Hey, if you haven't quieted your cell phone, now's a good time. Shush.
Jim, could you help Malin with the technology here? He doesn't. There we go.
Thank you, Jim. Cut that out, will you?
So when you take away color, what do you get? What's left, and that's texture, right? And so black and white to me is a celebration of texture and light and form, and it really becomes very clear that that's what's going on in black and white. Color becomes more of a distraction. This one I really loved the strength of the dark stone, and even the solidity of the frozen ice, and then the delicate nature of the ice that was waterfall that was moving at one time not too long ago. This is a very common picture, Kirkjufellsfoss, and it means church mountain waterfalls is what it means. And they apparently in Iceland, they consider the mountain kind of a strong church-like figure. But anyway, can move on to the next one. So of course,
I've been there.
you've been Deadway?
Under that sky.
Oh, into that sky?
Yeah.
Well, being in Deadway is another hike and a half.
Yeah.
Up and down, and that's in Namibia also. But if you like black and white, then you've got to do nighttime photography. You've got to do astrophotography. Because, that's the Milky Way. And I didn't, I got to Namibia and saw the Milky Way, and I said, oh my God, it's there too. I didn't
I've seen it in
notice.
Minnesota as well.
I didn't notice. Yeah. So, this is.
People in black and white.
Yeah, this is one of my absolute favorites. And this is a guy in Tibet, way, way, way out in the countryside, as we were accompanied by a Chinese, what did they call him? They called him a tour guide, but he was actually from the Chinese government who was kind of monitoring our behavior in Tibet. So that was fun. And this fella here was just living out his daily life out there. And I wanted to take his picture, but I didn't know what the proper protocol was, because I'm not bold at taking pictures of people. I feel like I'm invading their space. So I actually, through the interpreter, I actually asked him if I could take some pictures. And he put his hand up, and I said, well, what if I gave him a little money?
How did he put his hand up? Was it like this?
No, he put it up like this. Anyway, then of course he did the, thing, and I said, no, please, just tell him to go back to smoking and looking up in the distance. I don't, just make believe I'm not here, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He just enjoyed his smoke, and that's what I wanted. I wanted his cigarette smoke. He was a kind that would do exactly what he's doing there. He would take a puff and let it kind of circulate around and move around his head. I just love that kind of smoker.
That's a whole different layer of texture in that image.
I know, it is, it's great. He was just, and his face was so craggy. And then this is a softer representation of texture. This was taken at Big Cypress. We were staying at Clyde Butcher's place, which is quite an experience, to rent his cabin where he used to live and roam around that area. It's really beautiful. Okay.
So, creative is what I would say about you, if somebody asked me. How did you get your creativity for photography? Where did it come from? What's the source of that?
Move to the next image. I think that's gonna, yeah. So yeah, when Larry was interviewing me, he said that I had a creative eye. Well, to me that's deeply complimentary, because I never thought I was creative. But he said, no, when you take things that aren't creative, they look very different than, and this one is a piece of ice that's this big, just a few inches big. And I used a wide angle lens. I was down in the freezing cold water in Iceland with my camera equipment. That tripod is now deceased. And it was flat down on the beach, and used, slow motion. This is what wide angle can do, which is absolutely amazing. It was this big.
When you say slow motion, you mean long exposure?
I mean long exposure, yeah.
Okay.
And it looks like a nice piece of glass, in there.
Yeah, it's
And
gorgeous.
this, of course, this heart was a natural ebbing of the tide, the
Nice.
water. So that's, to me, that's creative. This one, I don't know if you remember this, Cliff, we were walking around in France, and I said, I want to find a really quaint, restaurant or bar, the French cafe. We were in Lyon. And I found one. I said, oh, there it is. And Cliff said, where? I don't see anything quaint about that. And I guess that's where my creative eye is too, is that I saw that, but it was bright daylight. It was, the chairs were all folded up on each other. The potted plant was in a weird place. It didn't look anything special. But then we waited, and we waited till the light went down. And right before they opened, so they set it all up, they opened up the chairs and the tables, they set it up, and they put the lights on, which is what I wanted. And before anybody came, I took this picture, and that's what I wanted. So this was pretty intentional, but I did see something up here. I saw something.
You had a vision, before it
I
even appeared,
did.
you had a vision for what
I
it
had a
might
vision.
be.
Yes.
So where does that come from?
Well, I think it comes from childhood. I think it comes from,
Did you look at a lot of pictures like, I looked at the Time Life photography series when I
Oh,
was a
yes,
kid.
National Geographic, I was a
National
big-
Geographic,
Oh,
yeah, so
yes, yes,
it's an
yes.
experience of being trained and looking at
Yes.
pictures, I think.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is, it
Okay.
is. Yeah, it is. But also having a vivid imagination.
Yes.
And you can develop your imagination, you know. My imagination probably came from being so deprived. Because we were very poor. We lived in a rich community, but we were very, very poor. So I saw what everybody else got from their middle-class family, and I didn't, you know. So I wanted to take ballet, and I wanted to be a pirate, and I wanted all these things, but I couldn't have them. But my parents found a way. You know, my mother one year gave me a pair of dirty old ballerina slippers that came from God knows where. They were stinky and everything. And I couldn't wear them because they were too big, but they were just her way of saying you can have ballet in your life. And that begins your whole mind, you know, creating a world that you can't really have.
Did you see the color assembling here? Is that what you were seeing?
This one here?
Yeah.
I didn't see the color. What I saw, we were in Lucca, and what I saw, it was pouring rain, and we were on like a third floor, and the steps were ancient steps. Ancient, this is one of the oldest cities in the world, in Italy. And the stairs had this divot in the middle, you know, where it had been worn. And it was pouring rain, so that all the stairs were slick with water. I slid down those stairs with my tripod, broke the tripod, that was another tripod that was deceased, broke my tripod, got out on the seat, and I got out of the street, and I said, damn it, I'm gonna get a picture. I did see a bunch of umbrellas as well. That's all I saw was a bunch of umbrellas. I said, that's a beautiful, I love that, I love that. And so I tried to set up, and I missed them. I wanted them coming at me. I missed them. And I cursed and other things. And I just turned around and said, well, I'm here. I'm going to take the damn picture. And I took it. And then I saw it in the camera. And I was like, that's the picture I want. I want them going away. I don't want to see their faces. I want to see this arrangement. And also, they came from a large square into a tiny little street with these antique buildings. So it was happenstance, I guess, again. It was just spontaneity.
It's beautiful. More skies.
Yeah, starry, starry night.
Now,
And
you could
this-
have gone to North Florida to see Aurora here a week or so ago.
I know.
It's pretty
It was
amazing.
everywhere.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was a dream. I always wanted to see Aurora. And when we went to see the polar bears, we came home from that first day where I fell into the snow and my hands were frostbit and I was cranky and tired and freezing and chilled. And you run in the cabin, you take off all your layers because you have to be layered up to withstand that cold. And I'm getting my glass of wine and somebody says, Aurora. Shit. So I said, wait a minute, Diana, wait a minute, I'll be dressed in a minute. She's out the door, she's always ready. And it took me a few minutes and I ran out, and at that point, there was a lot of light in around our cabin, you know, our lodge, and it didn't look like this, you know. I mean, it looked pretty spectacular, but not quite all the colors. I saw the yellow, the bright yellow, and I saw it moving and taking shape. These things are very fleeting too. They're here today, you're here 1 minute, and then if you wait too long, you have trash. So I took it, and then in post-processing, I brought up the color. Okay.
Creating. We talked about
Right.
creating. Where's the
Right.
creating come from?
Yeah.
The creating dancing in the rain. What's the rest of your creative process? How do you do your creative images that everybody likes in the creative
It
competition?
takes technique.
I look at them and I say, well, that's amazing, but I could never do that. How do you do it?
Well, you could because you're kind of a geek.
No.
And people who have the technical expertise really have an advantage. The problem is usually the people who have the technical expertise are not necessarily the people who say things in their mind like I do. So I had to learn it. I had to learn it. And one of the things that really forced the issue is Artist Naples asked me to teach a class. And the class they wanted me to teach they wanted me to teach an artistic class. So I told them I could teach a class in creativity, but I didn't know a whole lot about it then. But I had a year. So I had a year to learn. And I studied took us off. Maybe you need clicking more. Yeah, there we go. And
There's more.
I studied the vast extent of creativity at the time, and really that brought me to composites. So taking elements that you've taken pictures of elsewhere, or you've created, and putting them together, and then you can go to the next slide. Oh, yes, I took the moon too. And then I put that together into this. So it's a multi-layered
How did the class go?
image. Oh, it was, the class was really fantastic, but I had very few students. It turns out this was so far advanced for people. They thought that you could just push buttons, make twirls,
yeah.
And that kind of thing. And
That's what geeks do.
that's what geeks do, I guess.
So tell us about this one. There's a lot of creativity in this one,
Yes,
too, right?
Amorantine. Enya sings this wonderful song called Amorantine. And it always had me very starry-eyed and misty when I heard the song. And then I took this model with, I can't remember her name now, the redhead who does portraits and models. And she was at the conference. Not thinking of her name. Anyway, she does a lot of shoots with people, and she had this model, and she's stunning. Very often you go on shoots and there are models, but they're not stunning. And she was absolutely gorgeous. So I wanted to do something with that face. Very young, first time she ever modeled, and I wanted to do something creative. So everything about it is something I made or took and kind of forced into something else, like nature's hat. I saw her as kind of Mother Earth.
So I think you've already answered the next question. You like to teach. Teaching is something you enjoy doing quite a bit, or you have.
Yes.
And you said to Larry, which I'll repeat here, since I have Larry's notes, as a teacher, you learn.
Yes. Yes.
So who was it that asked you to teach this class?
Artist Naples.
Would you ask them to ask me to teach a class so I can learn?
Well, I've taught at Naples Botanical Garden. In fact, did you take a class with me? Yeah. People in DPI-SIG have taken.
So tell me more about how you learn when you're teaching.
Well, in order to teach, you really have to, I think, Sonny, you can verify or not, you have to know a subject really deeply, in order to be a good teacher. You're not going to teach it all. You can't. You don't have time to teach it all. I mean, look at how long it took you to learn everything that you're going to teach, right? But you have to understand it that deeply so that when you say something, you can say it with confidence and you can field questions about it, learning something deeply is something that I love to do. And this is one of my favorites. It's not a winner. And that's something I'm going to talk about before we finish.
Collage.
This is a composite, definitely. It's called Behold Earth, and it's obviously from another planet. Can you tell? Yeah, but the planet is inhabited. You see? I love this. And the girl has walked away from her Hogan, or whatever that is.
Where did you get that shot of the Earth?
I went to the observatory. Yeah. At the observatory, we took pictures, of the sky, of different planets, and yeah, that's where I got it. Yeah, it has to be something that you took. I think I might have created Saturn, or we took it. I might have taken it too.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not unless you've got a telescope.
Well, pretty big one.
Yeah, a pretty big one, yeah.
Then I must have made it.
I can take that with my 600 millimeter lens and it looks like a star.
Yeah, well, the observatory has shows, you know, that they've
Oh,
assembled.
you took it in an observatory?
Yeah, I took it
Oh,
in an
okay.
observatory. I didn't
Gotcha.
take it in a telescope.
I didn't hear that.
No. Now, what is he having trouble with?
Is this the observatory in Fort Myers, Lee County?
No, this is in Sarasota, I think, with Carmen Scatino.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna set you up with this next question because there's a little background I have that these guys don't know. I'm the one that asked you to do this interview, and I said you're gonna do it with Larry. And then one night, on Women's Workshop, she says to the group, I'm gonna be interviewed by Larry, and there was some sort of strange reaction to that. Well, guess what? You got out of it. But,
He got out of it.
oh, he got out of it too, yes, but I'm sure he'd rather be here.
I know.
So you said it was an opportunity to reflect,
Yes.
to do this.
Yes.
You told him that the interview processes presented an opportunity for you to reflect on your photography and what it means to you and
Yes.
what's next. So
Yes.
what's next?
Yes. Well, just to the reflection piece, it is good to look back at what you've done and how far you've come and where it took you and that was the first thing I did, was really reflect, and all the wonderful travel I've done and the people that I've met and this incredible club that has been a wonderful learning environment. What was I saying?
Reflection.
Reflection. So I've entered contests, every contest that I could, and I recommend that, by the way, for everybody. I think that you get a good sense of just what competition is like, and you get rejected a lot, so you get used to that. But I entered art shows, I entered, the retreat was an online international contest, and I won big on that one. And there's one at the end that we're going to show that my picture was shown in a New York gallery, and that was always a dream I had. Back to my dreams. I'm a big dreamer, and so I did a lot. I did a lot of different things, and I taught a lot of classes, and I did a lot with DPI-SIG. I did a lot with F3C, and developed the judges training, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, it became like work. And there were times in the early days too where my husband would say, why did you pick this up? You seem to be stressed all the time. Because I'd go out on a shoot and I wouldn't have the right equipment, or I didn't know what I was doing, and that kind of, it can be very stressful for me to do, even though I love it and all that I've been exposed to. But there's other parts of my life, and I'm paying more attention to those now. And so I'm not leaving photography, I'm changing my idea about it, but I'm doing more with music. It's another artistic part of my life that I'm really doing a lot of singing out. I have a ukulele partner, and we sing and we play ukulele all different periods of time. We do that all over Naples. And I also wanted more time with my husband and my friends. And the other big area is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but as you get older, things seem to just fall apart, and you didn't do anything to promote it, to provoke it. And it's just, everything goes, the joints go, and then arthritis, and then your heart. It's just one thing after another. So I spend a whole lot of my time right now on maintenance. That's really a lot of time with a personal trainer and a number of other creative endeavors and walking and Feldenkrais. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's
Yep.
another movement, movement format, yoga. So that's really what I want. That's what I'm doing with my time, is I'm spending more time on those
You're
areas.
paying attention to yourself.
I am.
So I have a corollary here, which may or may not apply to you, but let me try it out. My goal was to come up with and have published a magazine cover. And I achieved that. In order to achieve it, I had to write the article that was going in the magazine. Because I wouldn't take just the cover, which I did, and they published it. Could you say for you that part of the reason that you've been so involved in competitions, both with F3C and DPI-SIG, is because you wanted to have quality competitions so you could enter them, and everybody else could enter them as well? Would you say that's kind of like a driving
Absolutely.
force to make things work?
Absolutely.
So guys, you want to get better at competitions? We have a competition directorship open in DPI-SIG. Talk to me afterwards. A
Absolutely.
little plug there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you learn a lot. You learn a lot too.
Yeah.
Running a competition.
Yep. So you got more to say about these?
Not really. These are, this was one of my favorite outings, and I went twice with George and Patty Walsh in Arizona. And I'm going again with them to shoot grizzlies in August. And so.
Where do you find birds?
I know, I don't even have any birds in here. It's funny. So this was another wonderful experience I had with at Rookery Bay. The last year that Clyde Butcher judged the Rookery Bay competition, he chose my bird. It was third place, but I was so tickled pink with that because the first two were landscapes, and that's, of course, his specialty. But I didn't, I put them in not thinking he would even look at them, but he chose my bird as third place. So, but this was probably one of the pictures that made me a basket case. I decided that I was going to sit with one bird. And this is a great exercise for anybody who might want an exercise. I was going to sit with one bird and not jump all over the place. Like the alligator farm, there's so many birds. I mean, it's hard to focus. Well, this is where I took it. But I took him on a side place. And I sat with him for like 2 hours. He stayed there for 2 hours, thank goodness. He was just strutting away, And so I really honed my skills. How do you take a white bird, against a dark background? And I really, really worked on that and stayed with him. And I got Clyde as a result. So that was pretty awesome. What part is this?
That's part of the same group. Reflection.
Oh, reflection. Huh. Well, how are we doing with time?
We're 20 minutes over, but don't worry about it.
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding.
Jeez. Okay. I wanted to show you these pictures because this is something that I'm interested in moving into in photography. This is my grandson, and these are his pictures, his self-portraits. And he is a natural artist. He was always a sketcher or a drawer. And you can go to the next one. And lucky for me, he took up photography. And so we helped finance his education in photography school in San Francisco. And but he's always done this type of photography. It's very natural. It breaks the rules. It's just what he feels at the moment has impact and is worth capturing. And I love it. I love the headless people. And I never, of course, I never would tell anybody to take a headless person, except that's where I'm headed. I'm done, myself, I've won the ribbons, and I'm very happy I did, because they taught me a lot, but now I'm at a point where I want to do what I want to do. And he is inspiring me, my grandson. Look at this. This is just oh, go back to that one. This one here, do you see? It's not sharp. I love that. Don't you want to just take a really blurry picture, But look at how wonderful that is. It goes with her mood. It's a filthy area, she's kind of a mess, and the blurs is part of the feeling of that moment. And that's what I want to look into. And so I brought this book with me, and you can take a look at it. It is from the show, The Power of Photography. And I know that some people attended that show at Naples Art.
I was there.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was all black and white. And it was just somebody's collection. And he had bits and pieces of a lot of famous people, but they were unknown works of art for the most part. He had a couple that weren't. But I went through there in absolute awe because the images were amazing, but they all broke the rules. All of them. There were bright lights in them. There was black with no definition. There was a gorgeous head of a woman, kind of haughty, and her nose was right up on the frame. None of them would have won a ribbon in our contests because they're not standard, And so there's this other part of photography. There's the part where you want to learn the rules really well so that you can break them and really break them. So, because if that's what it takes to create a mood, to create a feeling, to create impact, then you should be able to do that. But you're not going to get a ribbon, But I'm thinking that we should have a category. But how could you even compete? Because, they're all fantastic in somebody's mind. But it's your personal photography. It's your personal thing. It's your personal statement. People get mad if they don't get acknowledged in competitions. The judges don't know what they're doing or whatever. Well, don't compete with that image. That image may be more meaningful to you than any judge. They're going to use standards because they kind of have to. They have to have some standard to choose the cream of the crop. But I favor the idea too, and I always have, of making pictures that don't go into competition and that just you do for your pleasure, and keep those for something else, maybe a competition outside of the local competitions.
So are you going to figure out how to train those judges to break the rules?
That's the other thing. How do you train a judge to do that? Okay, so I've always had this wanting to break the rules kind of feeling, but I snuck it in because I wanted to win more. So this is an image that actually got first place in photo of the year in the print competition or something. And I remember Larry Richardson was one of the judges. There were 3 judges and Larry was one of them. And the other judges gave it a 20. And he gave it an 18. He gave it an 18. And I went up to him later and I said, why did you give it an 18? And he said, because I've seen many pictures of birds and I know a good picture, Larry, he's awesome. He's my first instructor for birds, actually. And, but I know why. It's because this whole section over here is undefined. You don't know what you're looking at, and then there's this intrusive kind of branch that's kind of blacked out. But that was
we can take that out with remove.
I know. But it was kind of the charm for me, because when I looked at that nest, I couldn't tell what end up. These are brand new chicks, and they were, they wobble, and this one just for a moment stayed still for a moment, but these other guys were all intertwined with each other, and I kind of liked that. But he was right, I mean, in terms of a contest. Anyway, that was my rebel moment. And this one is very soft, you know, very, very soft. And traditionally, people in the past might not even have given this notice at all. But I really love to work with softness. But if you notice, there's also something very, very hard running through it, is the rock. So that kind of gives it contrast and credibility in my mind. Next one. And this is a story. Out with Tennessee in Fort Myers taking pictures, and she wasn't a practiced model. I prefer unseasoned models. And she was just a really sexy lady. And I set her up in front of backlighting. I wanted her backlit, is what I wanted. That was my goal. And I took the picture. It didn't do well in competition because the bright lights in the background overwhelm the subject, blah, blah. You know the standards. They distract your eye, they pull your eye, and that kind of thing. And so, click it again. So I redid it. Which one do you prefer? This one? Or that one? See, you're divided. You're really divided. This is the one I love. I love this one. Because to me, that's context, that's city. That's how it is. It's messy and this is beautiful. It shows her, but that's not really what I wanted. I wanted the street. Yeah, it tells more of a story. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, and this is another rebellion of mine. This is a composite, and the criticism would be that you have this big bright thing right in the front, and why would you even want to go in the back, even though you have a line, you know, bringing you back. It's unbalanced. You know, you should have some real darkness in it somewhere. There's lots of things I could say about it myself, let alone other people criticizing it. But this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. I wanted a feeling of being, you know, a distance away from that, whatever it is, monastery, whatever it is, in a garden with magnolias. And the magnolias, the sun, the moon was shining on the magnolia, and it was just beautiful. And then in the background, there was the scene. This also didn't do very well in competition, maybe a yellow or something. But, so these are my early rebellions.
Larry and I tend to take a lot of nature and wildlife photos, although I lean into all sorts of other things, macro and landscape and so forth, portraits and so forth. The next image, Larry says, is stunning. Tell us about this image.
Yeah, Larry loved this. Well, this is Namibia at a waterhole, and it was an awesome experience in and of itself. There were two giraffes who came to the waterhole alone, and only one drank at a time. The other one was the lookout, because there were lions there, and rhinos and everything else at the waterhole. So it was a fantastic moment, and it was hard to do. It took a lot of technical practice and patience, but because I had the lights at way over here, and I was way over here, and we used I can't even tell you the equipment we used then, but you probably know. But the thing about this picture that I love is this is the picture that got me into the New York Gallery. And that was one of my dreams, was that I always said if I could get into a New York City gallery, I didn't care how. I didn't care how that was going to happen. You know, I would donate my pictures to a consignment shop. I didn't care how.
You'd write the article, right?
What?
You'd write the article like I did for the cover.
Yes, yes. And instead, I entered this contest called NYCPA, I think it's called.
It's, I don't remember why it's called that, but it's New York City, and I can't remember what it stands for. But anybody could enter them. It's a wonderful competition. It has themes like our themes. So, I mean, you've got pictures that could, and I did it just on a long shot, long shot, long shot, and it got third place. So, and it hung and it sold. So, I was very proud of that image. And Diana took one too. That was pretty wonderful.
We're done. We're done. 1 minute for you? Okay, not ready yet. So Christine, we wanted to get you a new body, but you're gonna have to keep the one you got, I'm afraid. We can't fix it up for you.
This body?
Instead, we got 24 old tripods that you can use.
I finally bought a $1,600 really right stuff tripod.
Does it take better pictures?
Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you.
Really
Thank you
appreciate
for
your
asking.
time
Thank you for asking.
and the effort. We hope you got something out of it.
I did.
Christine is different. First time I ever saw Christine or met her, we were at an outing, and I don't remember where it was. It may have been taking pictures of sunflowers, I don't remember, but we were in a field, and there were, I don't know, 15 or 20 of us there. Everybody's running around taking pictures, and I noticed this one lady who I'd never seen before at an outing or a club meeting was sitting on the ground, absolutely sitting on the ground, had a tripod down below, taking a picture of one flower. And I walked around, came back, and she's still sitting there. And I came back a long time, and she's still sitting there. So I went over and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm taking a picture of this flower." So she was different right away. She was dedicated that she was going to get a picture of that flower. And that's the first time, I don't remember which outing it was,
Yeah.
but.
Those outings the outings are so wonderful. The outings are wonderful. Great experiences.
Thanks.
Well, that was wonderful.
You were terrific. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Very, very much. Okay.
So on last Tuesday, we had our AI meeting, and there were a couple issues that came up, and so there's a couple things I just wanted to share with you. As soon as Malin comes back and switches, because he's running the YouTube now. No, I'm not. Okay, there. So just wanted to share with you what the group has been doing lately from a creative standpoint. And so now this is pretty much all digital art, although we do, as you'll see, work in the new version of Photoshop Beta. But this was Sue Christensen's work, and there you see the prompt. Most of the people are using Bing at this point rather than Firefly or Adobe, although Malin and I and Art tend to prefer Midjourney, which you'll see. This is the same prompt, but you'll see changing the word out to neon. So that was one of our missions, was to use the same prompt in a number of different models and see what it does.
Jim, does everybody know what a prompt is?
No. A prompt. So think of it this way. I think Malin had this analogy the other day. What we're finding is that it's like learning a language. It's like learning French or, German, whatever, that even though you put in the same words into the different models, the models are going to interpret it differently. And so that was one of the things we were challenged with and looking at in the class was, okay, same prompt, different people, change one word, use a different model, what does it do? And so you can see the difference there between Sue's and mine, pretty substantial. This was Karen's. Karen does just this outstanding work. Her creativity, is just outstanding. And I think that while a lot of people don't like AI, I think that being a photographer helps because you know the language and you can incorporate some of those terms in there and you know what you're looking for. So that really helps influence how you write that prompt and what you ask it to do. This was one of Karen. I didn't realize that Karen was so much a birder, and her favorite bird is the grackle. Not too many people like grackles. But one thing that AI does do well, and you see impacted here, is it really understands the different art styles. So in this one, she's using impasto, which is the palette knife technique, and you can see it. It does really a nice job of putting that texture on the bird. This was another one of Karen's. This was one, it was a prompt that Sue had written for all of us to use. And this was the result that Karen had using the shells. It's quite an involved prompt. And there is this argument that we have in the group, simple prompts versus more elaborate ones. And oftentimes the simple one is the one that wins out and really does a pretty good job. But oftentimes you do have to go through and run it a number of times to get what you want. This is one of Malin's. Malin did this in the Photoshop beta. I forget what the prompt was. Flowers. And the other one we did was, the more realistic. We were looking for, kind of the hippie vibe, Woodstock vibe. And this brings up an issue. This actually is run through Comfy UI, and then upscaled. And so we're going to talk about that because that's an issue that affects all of us in our photography. So Joey Waves is a professional photographer on Marco. He had this photo on Facebook the other day, and I got to thinking, well, that's a pretty cool shot, it is rainy season. Now it's rained for the last 3 or 4 days. How could you duplicate that without knowing what his prompt was? So this is one that I came up with, just putting in, those prompts, the prompt that swamp, warm and cool colors, thunderstorm in the evening. And then what we did with I didn't think that compositionally this was that good because I could never get it to do kind of off, more from the left and that it was all centered and I didn't really like this. But Connie was able to take the same prompt and I think all she changed was putting Marco Island Beach in there and she got it to do what I wanted it to do, which with the leading line. So a much better shot, really pretty interesting. So the new Photoshop beta, if any of you played it, how many have the beta installed on their computers? Anybody? Number of us. So it's using a new model, Firefly 2. And so what you can do with that is you can put in a reference photo. So what I did was take my lousy photo and put that in. And then I went over to the wall and I took my iPhone and copied Judy's painting off the wall and said, make the AI like in the style of her painting. So that's what it did. So that's one of the big features now of the new Photoshop beta and is the ability to put in what's called style reference. So that's the style and the photo was the one back here and here's what it did. So if you look at that, that is really in her style. One thing that's come up is we've been asked to contribute to an art exhibit on digital art. And it's a 2-month exhibition. It's in November of 2025, October and November, on digital art. And so in our discussion at our meeting, one of the things that came up was, how would we print these? because when, I don't know if you know, but AI, they're generally either 512 or 1024 in terms of their image size, so they're pretty small. And the exhibit's going to have 40 to 60 pretty large prints. So one of the questions that came up at our meeting was, is there enough resolution to print 24 by 36? And is the printer capable of printing some of the wild and crazy colors we have? So what you have back there on the back table back there are a number of these prints. I tested upscaling them with both Gigapixel, the new version of Gigapixel, Photoshop, just using bicubic, or Magnific. This is one that Art had turned me on to. It's $40 a month. My impression is that Gigapixel is probably the best, although Photoshop is not bad. Magnific tends to add more stuff into the photo. It has kind of a mind of its own, so you have to kind of tame it down. And so it's not always the best, plus it's a subscription at $40 a month. So if you are faced with upscaling your own photos, be it, say, iPhone photos or whatever, I would recommend Gigapixel, and it does a really good job. And if you don't believe it, you can go back and look at the table back there, and those photos are all off the web. They're all PNGs. They're all 1024, blowing up to 20 by 36. So these are two of the ones that are sitting back there. What's interesting about this, our homework for this next month is music. And there's the prompt. Did pretty good with Prince. Prince plays a Hofner 490, which is kind of like a Telecaster, but you see it did pick up the headstock being different. Jimmy, it cannot do the left-handed guitar. So, no matter what you do, it's going to put the guitar to the right. It'll pick up the Fender Stratocaster, but it won't do the left-handed. So that's flipped in Photoshop, and then it's restrung so that the low E is at the bottom, otherwise the low E would be at the top. So while you think of AI as being pretty smart, it's not always so smart, but it does a great job with their face. So that's it. Our next meeting, if you're interested, is July 2nd. Thanks.
David in now.
Yep.
I think we've got our David now. Welcome.
This will be relatively quick. These are the winners of the second F3C digital competition from members from DPI-SIG. Hit it, Maestro. They're in alphabetical order by the name of the image, the title of the image, not by how well they score. No sound? Go ahead. Sign change something.
January theme show, all looking forward to that. Is
Mighty mackerel.
Sandy here? Are you here?
No, he's not.
I thought I saw him earlier. No? Okay, all right,
He has an introduction.
okay.
So, I am writing this message. With this presentation, I have produced videos for the DPI monthly meeting for the last 2 years. The experience has been both enjoyable and educational for me. Also, it has provided me an opportunity to spend some of my time in a useful activity. Over this period, we have made significant improvement in the quality of the show. A new projector thanks to the college. Software is working well thanks to Mullen, and we had fewer mistakes thanks to Betty. The contributors have been following the guidelines. It is just my policy to do something for a while, and then move on to something different. Therefore, this month is my last video for the monthly theme presentation. As you know, a number of technologies are becoming available that will transform audio-visual presentations to what we can only guess. The generative artificial intelligence, AI, will allow many ways to spice up the videos and make them more fun to watch. I leave this challenge to the new volunteer. Fortunately, Christina Skibicki has taken over the challenge. I wish her great success. Sandy Lavana.
Aye.